Hey, this is JJ Humphrey. Hey, we're back on Elephant in the Room. Oh, Bob, he can't make it. He's a little sick today. So it's just going to be me and my guest, Charity Linch. Charity, it is awesome to have you. Man, you look nice right there. It looks like an official right there. So, hey, it's great to
Thanks,
have you.
JJ.
It's
It's
a
good to see you.
pretty day. So, Charity is one of my favorite people because one of the things I love about Charity is she works. I like people who work. Charity is a worker. She's always doing something. And if you're not hearing from her, just sit back for just a second because she'll have something going on. That's always a guarantee. And so, Charity, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved with all the politics and the things that you're doing right now?
Oh, wow. Well, the short version of that story is everything is so corrupt, I realized I had to jump in. That's kind of the short version of it. I have always been involved in politics to the extent that as a kid, I grew up in the Reagan years, and you had to know what was going on in politics to contribute anything at the table, at the dinner table. And so I was always raised to be a Republican, was raised that Ronald Reagan might be right next to Jesus Christ. That he was just, those were the values I was raised with. I've always voted Republican. I got heavily involved with the Tea Party. In 2001, I really woke up and realized just how corrupt both sides were. I 9/11 was my wake up call. And so I got involved as far as I was doing Tea Party stuff. I went to school for paralegal studies and then went further with the criminal justice. And so I had a lot of opportunities to talk about the Patriot Act and all of the different ways. Many places or different organizations in our government have declared war on the people. And I realized in 2020, when they stole the election right in front of us, right after as they're shutting the country down, that the people that we elected in the Republican Party to stand up for us were not going to. There was one that was supposed to be a state leader that was also a national leader, came to our county and tried to chastise us for saying the election was stolen. And I said, oh my goodness, we have to do more than just get involved at the county level, which you have to get involved at the county level. And so I have jumped in a big way. I worked with America's Frontline Doctors. So my husband and I were looking at the public schools, and I had quit working to homeschool my kids. And we just said, hey, we're just going to do without that source of income, which I made a little bit, and we just decided we were going to figure out how to live without that to homeschool the kids. And we were doing that for a few years. And Dr. Simone Gold announced the legal team with America's Frontline Doctors. And I'm like, oh, I can do that from home. And so I started working with them. Working with them was kind of like working with the church, JJ. You had to be careful what you told them you were capable of, because when I left, I was the paralegal, the policy analyst, and the national coordinator for Citizen Corps. In that, I started the Freedom Brigades, which was actually started in Craig County, Oklahoma. And I was telling Dr. Gold about it at dinner, and she's like, you have to do this national. I said, yes, we do. And so we went on a national level through the America's Frontline Doctors. And after about a year, she said, all right, kid, I'm proud of you. I will point to you and I will partner with you, but you got to go out on your own. And so the Freedom Brigades became their own organization. We are in 19 states. And it's just empowering and organizing people to take back their communities, and then communicating with each other, because that's how we're winning. So much of this fight in Oklahoma against the green energy have been the brigades in different communities collaborating and strategizing together. And so many times, JJ, these companies would have come in and we wouldn't even have known. But we had a guard at that post. And so when they came to the county commissioners and said they were coming, we heard that and we were able to strategize against them. And so that's what we've done through the brigades. And then with the GOP, I started as the county treasurer, moved up to the vice chair, then the county chair. And I ran for National Committeewoman. I've been helping organize the grassroots on a statewide level. We've used the brigade system in a different level statewide to just to organize our efforts so that we can be effective and learn the rules and learn parliamentary procedure so that we would be effective and organize and communicate. And so then I ran for National Committeewoman. I won that. And so I really felt like the Lord was, actually, I didn't feel like it. I know the Lord was telling me to run for chair because I argued with him about it. So I'm throwing my hat in the ring for chair, because the party needs to be cleaned up. We have got to establish some righteousness, some integrity, and there needs to be transparency. There needs to be rules that are based on principle, not on relationship. And so I'm running. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring, and I expect to be doing some homeschooling from the GOP headquarters while we get this done.
Well, we have a lot of people. I'm all around the state, and there's a lot of people got a lot of questions and have
Sure.
asked me if I know you and asked questions about you. And that's why I called you and said, hey, I'd really like you to come on. Man, just what you said right there in your introduction of yourself, there's a lot to unpack right there. There's a lot of things that you went really quick by. And so,
All right, let's go.
Craig County is where? So for those people who
Craig County is, yes, it is a tiny county in northeast Oklahoma, about 45 minutes out of Tulsa. An hour, depending on how you drive. It's 45 minutes for me.
what's your biggest town so people know where you're at?
Veneta, which is not a big town.
Well, it's just according where you, that's all from perspective. If you're JJ Humphrey, Veneta is a really big town, way bigger than Lane, Oklahoma. So you're a city girl according to my calculations. But yeah, I
Well,
like.
one of my best friends lives in Afton, and so Afton is much smaller than Veneta, and she talks about Veneta like it's a very big town. But anyway, you're right. It's perspective.
Afton's where Shangri-La is over there by that, right?
So yeah, so Afton has Shangri-La in it, but it's not in the Afton city limits. So there is a whole huge portion of Afton that is just for the postal service to be able to say this is where it's at, but they are really not even anywhere near that town or really a part of it.
Super.
I would say Shangri-La has a lot more to do with Grove than Afton.
Yeah, it's right across. I've done a lot of running around up there, quite a bit. I've actually come up there and spoke to a couple of groups, and we used to do I was a DARE officer. So, kids, worked with kids, and our training was always at Shangri-La. So we would go over to Shangri-La, and then we'd have a vehicle drive over through Grove and across the bridge and everything. So it's pretty cool. So I know a whole lot about where you're at. So I just want people to get kind of idea of the area that you're at. Love that area. It's a great place. Freedom Brigade. Now, you went by that pretty quick, but now that's a big deal. And again, the first time I ever met you, I doubt you even remember the first time that I met you, but it was at a big deal at Oklahoma City, and they were doing an election thing, I think for Donald Trump, if I remember right.
It was a watch party for Trump. I remember it very well. We were at Dave and Buster's, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's exactly where. Yes, and so the thing that the first time I met you, and I went and looked up because you either gave me a card or told me the Freedom Brigade, and we talked a little bit about the Freedom Brigade, and so I like to go look up stuff and find out what it's all about and what's this, what's that. And I was very impressed because here's the deal, Charity. If you want to, if for me, we're going to talk about something else you're really involved in, and that's grassroots. But for me, people got this wrong concept, I think, of grassroots. People think of grassroots as a couple of leaders, a couple of people that get together, and that's grassroots. To me, grassroots are the people who are sick of government, who are tired of what's going on around the country. The Trump movement, I would say, is grassroots. It's made up of grassroots people who are tired. But you made it more organized when you said the Freedom Brigade. And so now you got groups of people who are organizing with like-minded other groups of people, not just across our state, not county to county, but across the nation. And again, I really believe if we're going to take back our government, and you said a while ago, what got you involved in this was seeing the corruption. And again, when we see this corruption, when we see like the Doge, Elon Musk, what he's uncovering. And we tend to look at all that in Washington, but we don't look at what's that look like right here in our own backyard. How about is that stuff going on in Oklahoma? And I think there's a lot of people who just really doesn't think that's going on in Oklahoma. And again,
yeah. No, you're right. Go ahead and finish.
Well, I just was thinking, what you're seeing right now play out before you are all of these judges. That's what we're starting to see is what allows the corruption and why has this been able to go? Because it runs all the way into your criminal justice system. And I know you got a background in criminal justice as well as I do. So I love our court system. I think we have a great setup, the ideal behind our court system, but it can still be corrupted. And I think we are seeing an extremely corrupted court system in our land, but I believe that goes back to here in Oklahoma as well.
Well, yeah, Oklahoma is supposed to be the most conservative state. And to me, that's scary because the swamp here is still very deep. I mean, we're going to be holding a rally tomorrow in the Capitol because we have all these conservative bills that Republican legislators, leadership are not letting even be heard. How is this? How is that representing our values at all? That's why, everywhere I go, I'm talking about we have got to put godly people into office. And I'm so sick of being told I can't talk about my faith and politics, because if we are not the church and we don't stand up for godliness and righteousness, then it's all gone. Our platform in the Republican Party is based on biblical values. And if we don't have people that love God more in office, then they can be bought. And if they can be bought with money or power, they will be bought. And that is what we're seeing. We've got to have men and women that truly believe in the biblical values and truly have a faith that they can rely on. That's the only shortstop against what they're going to come up against.
I believe a lot of people at the Capitol don't see themselves as being bought. What happens is you have 6 or 7 people who are in leadership who control everything. They control all the money. Used to, when I first got there, lobbyists still courted you. They still wanted to take you out. They still wanted to come talk to you because they had to have your vote. And what happened over an 8-year period or so, and you just see it more and more, the leadership got control of everything, monies, all of it. Now, guess what? Lobbyists do not need to go talk to your regular run-of-the-mill legislator, because guess what? Everything is controlled through 6. Those 6 decide what will happen. Now, all these others, no, nobody controls us. Yeah, they do, because guess what? The minute that you go up against leadership, you're going to lose a name on your door. You're going to lose that money that comes through your campaign. They're going to. Now, this is what's bad. Your own party, and they'll go after anybody who goes and supports somebody else. So if I went out and supported somebody else, they'll attack me. You turned against your party and you turned against. But guess what? They'll underhandedly go and try to find candidates against them. We know this. It's happened. It's been caught before, but it still goes on. I guarantee you they look for somebody to take me out. I know that. I've been told that. And I figure they'll look at the next time. Or if I wanted to run for something, I've got a lot of people asking me to run for a much larger seat. And I'm kind of like what you're talking about. Hey, I need to hear from God before I do it. But one of the things that makes me hesitate, not scared to run, not scared, win or lose, not a problem as long as I do what God tells me to and I put everything into it. But the problem is when I throw my name out on a state level, guess what? They're going to come at me with, you know what I'm saying? They will put money behind whoever is against, whoever I'd run against would be greatly funded. And then you're going to have to challenges of coming up with funding. And so those are the things. It's just insane how 6 people on each side Senate, House, control everything, and everybody else turns a blind eye. And oh no, we're not Boto. Okay, then why you got people up there that are doing a terrible job? And again, they'll be mad at me. In fact, this is quite funny. Floor leader openly on a open email with all of us on it said Monday he's whipping my butt. We'll see whether that happens. But I mean, that's I guess.
So influence might be a better word than saying power. I say money or power, so maybe influence is a better word that they threaten you with. Is that would I mean?
I would
So
say, they're both interchangeable, though. Charity, I think you're right. Here's the deal: it amounts to power. It is power. It is. But what's so funny is that I think most of the legislators do not see themselves caught in that. They like to go, well, nobody controls me. Well, yeah, they do control you, because guess what? You're not going to come out and say nothing against leadership. You're not going to come out and openly state what's going on. And again, I can tell you right now, we have Democrats that are getting all their bills heard, and we have people who were elected in big elections that they're not even allowing to have a bill. And then you take a guy like me that they're really mad at. And here's the deal. I understand me. I've made them mad. Okay, if you're mad at me, all right. But here's the deal. I was elected. So why should 6 people be able to control? I was trying to get some records that are my own records the other day that they said, nope, you can't. If anybody who's working for the House will be fired if they help me get those records. Well, who does those people work for? Do they work for 6 handful of people that I want the records to show they're abusive, that they're abusing their power, or do they work for me and the people? And again, I believe they work for me and the people, not a handful of 6, 7 people that control that. And so again, and again, I don't want to make it. There's people I like in those 6 or 7 people. It
Sure.
sounds like I don't like them. It's not that I don't like them. It's just, this is the fact. You call it as it is. I'm not pulling punches. I'm not angry at them. I don't hate them. But that is our government. Our government is made up of these people who do the bidding for state chamber, who do the bidding for these PACs, who do the bidding for Farm Bureau, who is a sellout, for the cattlemen's who's a sellout. I like to call that group the Ag Mafia. There's several of them in there. So the Ag Mafia and various other lobbyist groups that, again, that's what we all answer to. Now, everybody'd like to say, oh, it's not true. It is true. It's a fact, and so they can say that. And what I love about Freedom Brigade, and that's what I'm liking, is that, you call it out. And here's the deal. We're not always in 100% agreement, and that's okay.
Sure.
I'm okay with that. And you know what? I'm okay at being called out. I've done some things. We're not in total agreement on that. Like the energy, we're in quite a bit of agreement, but not total agreement. And
Sure.
I've been called out on some of that. And you know what? I got no problem, because here's my thoughts. It's okay to disagree with me. It's okay. We can have a disagreement. But what I like about yours is that you research it. You at least come, there's so many people that just want to attack you without being able to say, here's why. And then I like to go back and go, hold it. Here's why. And let people hear it, and then let people, have an independent thought process and make up their own mind. And so that's what's been awesome. And then exposing all of the stuff that's going on, just like this rally that we're having Monday. Guess what? We're going right to the Capitol. Right. By the way, Mandy, me and Mandy was talking early this morning, and I had forgotten to get the speaker and the podium for the rally. And boy, I got hold of Latoya, my assistant, and Latoya saved the day because she got it without me.
Way to go, Latoya.
Latoya got her done. But we're set up for that rally And again, that's calling out the things that we're talking about right here, and just saying, hey, it's time that we engage the people, the quiet majority.
Yes.
Again, I mean, if I don't see how anybody has watched what has went on. We were talking about that going on right before we came on about voter fraud, about how the election was stolen. I think we're going to see 100% without a question that was stolen. I think we're going to see that COVID was absolutely a biological attack, a planned biological attack by China. I think that's going to come out. I'm just totally convinced. I think we're going to see that fentanyl is a planned biological attack on America. And I think that it's time that we as Americans need to say to our leadership who sat around and allowed this to happen and who come back, like you were saying, this person who came back and tried to say, oh, y'all, now what you going to believe, what you saw, or you going to believe us, and y'all need to calm down. You know, you're talking insurrection. Those people who say that insurrection are traitors to the J6 people.
Yes, they are.
Those people are traitors in my book. You know, the
J6 people are they are prisoners of war, and they are dealing with the what happens. They're dealing with the after effects of being a prisoner of war. They're all dealing with economic and health issues, PTSD, and they're still being targeted in their communities when they go into them. We've got people that keep track of them in the brigades, and they're still being targeted. That is not over. That
because we got people,
a warning to you, to me, to the rest of us to sit down and shut up. And I got news for them. People like me said, no, okay, it's on.
Well, and again, you got to remember that, you know, the communist network that we have that's putting out there, news network, you know, here's the thing. You got a lot of people believe that the people that were caught up in January 6th are the traitors, and they're convinced that they're traitors. I'm convinced the people who pulled off and who organized, set up, and prosecuted are the traitors. And the people who allowed it to happen and sat right there in Congress and did absolutely nothing are responsible, in my opinion, for allowing that to occur. And again, I know when he did release those people, we had several here in Oklahoma, and I was calling around that night with the group that has been trying to help them and was needing to get back. And we had one guy that they weren't sure they were going to be able to get transportation. And I told the guy that's organized it, hey, you call me and I will personally come down there. And in fact, I think there was two. One was in Tennessee, and I think one was in Virginia. I can't remember. But in fact, I told that guy, if you want to ride, I'll ride with you. If you want me to take them, I'll take them. But they got everything organized and didn't have to do it. But again, it's just unbelievable what we've seen with that and how that should have woke everybody up. And that's why that I really want to spend some time talking about the Freedom Brigade, because it does the thing that I see and kind of setting this up to talk about the GOP. And so one of the things that I see a big problem in the GOP, and I just want to say straight up, I've never been involved in the state GOP. I am involved in the local GOP. And I have some awesome local chapters of people who help me, people who are behind me. I love them to death. Can't say enough good about my local chapters GOP. But when we look at a statewide, especially down here in southeastern Oklahoma, you know what GOP's done for me?
I'm scared to ask.
That would be a big fat nothing. They've done nothing at all. And then again, the problem is they're always fighting amongst themselves. So there's always this big fight going on to where they render themselves ineffective. It's what I'm going to say. Have a hard time raising money. You're ineffective. So most of your politicians, and here's the deal. The politicians that we're talking about that are these politicians that control everything, guess what? They don't fear the GOP. They don't care about the GOP because guess what their thought is? They're ineffective. They can't stop fighting amongst themselves long enough to be effective. So they don't worry about them. So again, one of the things I love about the Freedom Brigade and I love about the Grassroots, which is what I believe Freedom Brigade is. It's just an organized, group of grassroots people, somewhat. I mean, I may be simplifying it a little bit, but it's grassroots becoming organized and now becoming effective. And we've seen that happening.
Well, that's true. So I've had some of the Republican Party members say that the Republican Party is irrelevant. And I've heard that over and over. And I'm like, no, the establishment that continues to just think we're supposed to raise money and get behind anybody with an R behind their name, they are ineffective. But the grassroots are very much effective. We are getting stuff done. And we actually have legislators and people in state office reaching out to us. But when they want our help, when they want to get something done, because we are organized and we are very relevant. I will say that the current GOP, the way it's being run, that's why I'm running. It needs to be cleaned up. I believe that even people that are considered establishment are on the same side as us. There are too many that are lying and cheating and stealing, and we've got to draw the line with those people and say that is not going to be tolerated. We've got to have rules based on principle, not on relationship. And so it's the same across the board. And I think a lot of those people that are in the middle, a lot of those people that are considered even establishment, but they're not liars, cheaters, thieves, those people we can get along with and we can get something done with. Yes, there are a lot.
Right there they're ready to be, that's
right.
what I'm saying. I say they are grassroots.
They are.
They just don't know.
We have a unifying document. It's the platform.
Right.
We all agree on that platform. All of us want to stop our kids from having their innocence stolen with groomers. All of us want to make sure our borders are secure. We don't want fentanyl. We don't want all of the green energy in. All of us want to have our rights. We need to get on the same page with that. And I know we can do it. We just have to move the people out of the way that are not conducting the party with integrity.
Well, and that's what people need to understand. Grassroots is not trying to change the Republican platform. They're trying to solidify. They're trying to say, no, this is the platform we're holding you to. If you claim to be this platform, then you are going to be a platform, and you're not going to claim on the election stage to be one thing and then go over here and be another thing. And so again, I've never been involved with the state GOP, but when I started to get involved was when Grassroots started, because again, that's when I started getting excited. I've been telling quite a few people before Grassroots ever got really established and was really known. I'm like, I'm going to tell you something. And again, before we saw last year's elections, I was telling people almost a year before that, I'll tell you what's going to be the big factor. Y'all think this one's going to win, but here's the big factor. If you ever see these grassroots people get organized in a place, they're going to wipe you out. They're going to come and they're going to be the people that are going to win. And that's what we're seeing. Now the question is, can grassroots get organized enough to actually take on some state platforms and take on state, races. And I agree with you 100%. The GOP's been divided. But I think that we can become, yes, you said a while ago, I think the word you used is insignificant, or you used no influence, something that people see us as that. And I think right now that's maybe a proper view, but I don't see that. What I see is the ability. I see the possibility. So when I look at something, I always look at something. If there's something wrong, my first thought is, okay, what's wrong with it? And then my second thought is, hey, don't gripe about a problem until you come up with a solution. Because if you ain't come up with a solution, you ain't thought about the problem long enough, So you need to have solutions. I'm a very, if you give me a problem, hey, give me 5 minutes. Let me go over here and think about that problem for a second. I'll
I'm
come
the
up.
same way. Yes.
Oh, I know you. I've watched you work. I know you're absolutely a go-getter who wants to get in and change things for
Yeah.
the better. And that's I've watched you over the last couple of years since I've got to know you, and I see you doing the things that I say we have to do, and that is to get hold of and then figure out the problems and then
Yeah.
begin to give the solutions. And so one of the things that you did that recently is your national committee woman. Can you tell people, a lot of people that listen may not have an idea about the GOP. What is the GOP? They
Sure.
may be thinking about getting involved. We encourage you to get involved. We want your involvement. That's how we win, is when
Right.
everybody gets involved. So what was the national committee woman? You were elected on that, Craig?
Yes. Yes. I currently still hold that role. The National Committee woman is, so I sit on every state board for the GOP. So I have a lot of influence in the state politics. I also represent Oklahoma at the national level at the RNC. And so we go to the RNC meetings and we vote. You have the chairman, the national committee man, and the national committee woman. So that's three people from Oklahoma that represent this state in the RNC. So that is my role there.
So let me ask you this, because I've got several. One of the biggest questions I get about you running for chair is, can you hold both these positions at once? Will you be giving up a position? So if you can address that, because I know that's the thing. Every time I start to talk about our GOP and who's in the election and all of that kind of stuff, that's the first thing everybody's kind of throwing out there. So I'll let you address that.
Sure. So I can hold both positions. You can be the national committee woman and the chairman. I think it's the Virgin Islands, the national committee man is the chairman. However, that is not my intention. My intention is to step down. And then at that point, the state committee will vote on the next national committee woman for the duration of that term.
Does that have to be a woman, or is that
it has to be a woman. So that's the way the RNC sets up. In everything, they will have a chair and a co-chair, which will be a male and a female. And every state has national committee man and a national committee woman. So it'll have to be a woman.
Hey, in the Republican Party, we don't let men who think they're women run for that.
No, we're not going to.
We know which bathrooms to use in it. I am correct on that, right? I am correct.
You are correct on that. If we veer from that, I will start another party. I'm telling you, that's nonsense.
I'm gonna be your chairperson. Okay. I'm gonna be your vice. I'm gonna be your vice if that's the case.
That's insane.
So what are some of the duties that, and I know some of the duties, but I want people to understand, what are some of the duties that a national committee chairwoman would do?
Okay, so you're asking for chair or national committee woman?
I was getting the committee woman at first, because I want them to know what you've been doing and what qualifies you to be who you're trying to be.
So, really the position is what you make it. So I make it more of a 40-hour-a-week job because I'm coordinating the grassroots. You're supposed to be the liaison between the RNC and the state GOP, and you're supposed to help with the finance committee, all of the committees. You're supposed to go and just be available to help the party be strong across the state. But you can also make it a 10-hour-a-month job. It really is what you make it. As long as you show up at every RNC meeting and you show up at every state committee meeting, which is the budget, finance, central, all of the committees, then you really have fulfilled your duties. But I took more of the approach of a 40 hours a week. A lot of what I do with the brigades kind of parallels what I would do as national committee woman. I go to speak in places in both capacities. It's about strengthening the party and what that looks like, and being the liaison for the national stage.
Right. And in that, you're going to a lot of your national. So you go to your nationals.
I have not missed a national meeting. Yes.
Okay. So again, the reason I want people to hear that is because that puts you on a stage to know a lot of things about what's going on in the Republican Party, what's the vision of the Republican Party, because I believe that we finally have a leader who does have the vision, who does have a plan on taking back our party. I think that you saw him do that in that election by putting people in charge of the party that had his same goals, had his same vision, and again has really pulled that party out of the mud. To I mean, we were bogged down. We were looking. I don't think anybody, when he first came out, I was all excited about it, but I think a lot of people were, oh, there's no way he can come back from the defeat he's got, and we were. We just had an attitude. A lot of things. I listened to a preacher today, and he's talking about attitude. And man, a lot of things have to do with your attitude and what vision you have and what focus and where you plan to go. And again, people who have no vision, people who have a bad attitude, people who are defeated speak from a defeated position, and people with the attitude of, hey, I'm going over there. You can either come with me or just get the hell out of my way. It shows. You don't have to. I mean, when they walk in a room, you see that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fear kills more dreams than failure, by far.
I agree. I 1,000% agree.
Yeah.
So you've been on the county level, you've been on the state level, you've been on the national level,
right?
And now you're going to step in, throw your name in the hat for chairperson of the entire state of Oklahoma. Correct. Now, tell us tell us what you see as the problem, kind of like what we were talking about a while ago. I like to identify the problem, and then I'd like to talk about the solutions. So you as a chairperson, what is it, the things that you see need changed? What is it that you want to do? What are the problems? And then how are you going to do those things?
So I'm going to focus more on what I want to change than what I see wrong, because I'm going to struggle to talk about what I see wrong without talking about people. And I really try to stay away from that. But I do think that we need to restore a godly standard. I will never push my faith on anyone, but that is what guides me and what our platform reflects. And we need to be stronger about that. The brigades have gone, for instance, and have held a lot of protests against having drag queens at a story hour for kids or putting on a drag show for little children. I don't see the Republican Party. They're pretty silent in that kind of stuff. And I think that's disgusting. I think that we need to be stronger on holding our legislators accountable and stronger on standing up for our values. If we don't draw the line, who's going to? We have to hold our values above. We need to have integrity in the party. There needs to be financial transparency. The budget committee needs to see the credit card statements and the bank statements. We're censuring Nathan Dahm. The budget committee has already censured him, and we're asking the state convention to do the same because he refused to do that in 2 years. We need to have the same standard of rules followed by everyone. I am not looking to give my friends an advantage over anyone else. I want it to be fair across the board. I want to put stuff in place so that no matter who is sitting in the chair position, it's fair across the board, because that's what matters. It's the lying, the cheating, and the stealing. We have to make it integrity, and we've got to make it a functioning party. We have to look at the fundraising. I've got some great ideas, and I've had some big donors that have reached out to me, and small donors that have said, I'm not giving to the party right now because there's no transparency and I don't trust them. And so when we have transparency, we're going to have to do some stuff, but we're going to have to encourage engagement from others as well. There's a lot of people that just don't want to jump into the swamp of the Republican Party. So if we clean it up, I think that we'll have more engagement from people. If it's a functioning party that's actually getting something done. We need to be an active force against the enemy's schemes and campaigns, local and state governments. And so how we need to empower people to do that. Right now, we have a lot of county chairs that are new. They don't know the procedures. So we need to have just some training and handbooks available for them instead of just handing them the rules. We need to explain it and help each other out and have more of a an attitude of helping each other out, then there's a social club. I've seen a few comments on Facebook where they said that I was destabilizing the party. And that's not true. The grassroots are not destabilizing the party, but they are destabilizing the social club. And those that just want it to be a social club are very upset by that. But the Patriots are not interested in social clubs anymore. We want stuff to actually get done. We want it to function, to represent our values, and we need to have character and integrity and transparency into the party in order to do that.
Well, you got a whole lot right there again that we're going to try to break down.
All right, let's do it.
Next 15 minutes, quite a lot, and I think some important things. I wanted to start with godly standards. And again, I'm 100% with you. Your beliefs, that's what's great about America, is that we do have the freedom of religion, but we have the freedom. Just because you choose not to doesn't mean I have to choose not to express my own religion. And again, when you want to see the foundation, if you want to go back into our foundational documents, if you want to go back into the foundation establishment of this country, we see God at the center. I mean, it is the cornerstone of everything that our country has been built on. And to deny that, then you are just ignorant of fact, or you're blind. And again, that's what's made our country great. These principles that it's built on, the foundational papers have been, people have just said it's maybe, as far as except for the Bible, the best documents ever written, and look at how long it's lasted. And again, even today, with all the stuff they could have never dreamed of, these documents, these principles, if we will practice them and we will not corrupt them, guess what? They have just as much authority and bearance on today's government if we don't corrupt them. The problem is they have been corrupted to the place that I hope, I think, I pray that we are seeing the turnaround of that. We're seeing the exposure. We're seeing the go back to the principle. But again, I hope that's something that we do here in Oklahoma as well, that we take a deep look into who we are as Oklahoma and look at our court systems, which have massive corruption. We look at our government, which has massive corruption. And everybody wants to act like, oh, no. Oh, yeah. And again, the system. One of the things that you talked about was transparency. And I know you're trying not to say anything, so I'll say some stuff. Because I've got the kind of manners that never keep me. So I want to say this, Nathan, if you get to watch this, I love you, brother. You know I love you. You know that I have no ought in my heart against you. Just like a while ago when I said I disagree with Charity on a couple of things. We're not going to beat each other up on that. It's okay for me to disagree. I agree on the subject of green energy. I agree with her a whole lot. Most of what she agrees on. There's a couple of places I don't, and we can call each other out on that. That's for another day when I'll have her back on. We'll have that discussion.
Let's do it.
And I would look forward to it because I very respect your opinion. But on this open records, and Nathan, I'll just speak plainly. For me, if I'm in charge of records, I don't care what the rules say. I don't care whether you got something. My deal is it's the people's money. It's the people involved with this. This is an open deal. And when you won't open the records, it causes, whether there's anything there or not, it causes people to suspect. It causes people to think that there's some problem there. And again, it's easy enough to open up and shut all that up. And that has been one of the big issues in this. This is one of the big issues that I talk to people. They don't want to donate as long as this kind of issue is going on. This is another issue that is dividing the party because you got the people who like you, Nathan, that want to support you and they're hanging with you. You got some people who may be opposed to you. I don't know. And then there's people in the middle just again going, this is what we're talking about. All the infighting, all the fighting over something that's as simple. Open a book and let's let the chips fall where they may. Here's the problem. Because here's where I'm at. If I'm in charge, I want to find the problem. I want to open that book because I didn't steal nothing. Let's open that book. And if there's something there, let's deal with it. That means we have to go file something on somebody. Then that's what that means. If that means just identifying we've got a shortage and now we got to fill that shortage. And how did we get that shortage? Let's stop the problem. Kind of like the border. Let's stop, you got to stop the flow in. Now we got to find the people who are here. We got to get them out of our country. That's the process. Open the books, find the problem, fix the problem, stop the problem. Those are the things that you do. It seems to me. Again, I love you, Nathan. But at the end of the day, that has been one of the biggest issues that I think has plagued what's going on with the GOP right now. And that's just me with cheap seats looking in, because I have gotten interested in trying to become a part of this, because I do have a vision that we are going to become very effective. I plan on getting involved, and I would not get involved. When I get involved, I like to win. I like to win. I like to be a winner. I have a vision. And again, my vision is not control that, but my vision is to create a party that is united across the state, that when we have a candidate, and again, like you said, Charity, a lot of people may not understand this. Our as a Republican doesn't pick who the Republican, you know what I'm saying? That we're going to have candidates, and we don't go out there and go, well, this one's no good, this one's better. And so we kick this with curb. Now, I've seen that in the Republican Party a bunch. Man, I've seen them pick winners and losers. And again, this person is kicked to the curb, never had a chance at all. And all the Republican focus has been on this person. And what's funny, I've seen a couple of people come and win, and that's always pretty satisfying to me, is when you cheat the rules and the guy wins despite it, or gal wins despite it. So there has to be fairness, and you talked about that. And I like that, because a lot of people leave that out. A lot of people don't think that's an issue. It's a huge issue. Yeah. So you're supposed to let the candidacies work out. And then once you have a Republican person in charge or elected in the primary, then you get behind that person in the primary and you run with it. But at the same time, there needs to be things that are informing people. I think the party should be, and let's see if you agree with this, I think we should be informing people of the candidate's platform. You know what I mean? So if you got a candidate over here that says, I'm for all of these things, but they ain't standing, I'm opposed to drag queen, but guess what? You never stand up and oppose drag queen. I'm opposed to this or that, but guess what? You never stand up and oppose any of that. I think that's not picking sides. That's just telling the truth. I was talking about state auditor the other day. Their job is not to put their thumb on the scale, because that's what I've heard. Oh, well, we don't want to release this report because we're putting thumb on scale. No, your job is to do the report and let the report speak for itself. That's where I'm at.
Well, when I'm talking about the fairness, I'm talking about what I'm seeing in the counties, what I'm seeing even at the state level, where they twist the rules, or they say it means one thing, but we're not going to, they're just twisting the rules. As far as the primary goes, I do think we need to be exposing who's who, because that's when we decide whether or not we're electing a rhino. We need to decide, maybe not officially as the Republican Party. I supported John Bennett when he got behind Lawmeyer in that primary, but sometimes it's not so clear cut. I do think at the very least we should be putting out there what's going on. You're right. Who's who with the issues? Are you putting? I personally don't have issues with drag queens. I do if you want to do that in front of kids. If you want to dance in front of them, or you want to put that kind of perversion in front of kids, I have a huge issue with that. What you do in your bedroom at home is between you and God. What you put in front of kids in society, now I have a problem with it.
Can I, when you say society, here's my take on that.
Okay.
I don't run out there and put my wife and my business on the street. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't do that out of respect for my wife and out of respect for myself. I don't do that. Okay. Right. Now, if you do go out there and put your business on the street, and if you want to dress up like a woman and you're a man and you're a really ugly woman, I'm gonna tell you, when you have a green beard and you're bald headed and you're in a clown dress, I'm gonna get you a mirror and say, look at yourself. You look stupid as hell. You stupid looking, and I'm ashamed of you. I'm ashamed for you. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Now, I had no problem saying that to their face or anywhere else. And I've done it quite a bit. So if you don't believe me,
I believe you actually on that.
they were all chanting up there on the last drag queen deal. F Humphrey, F Humphrey. I'm like, only with chloroform. That's the only way it happens. So here's the deal. I have no problem saying so. You're a little nicer than me. I got no problem. But again, I don't have a problem with you as a person saying who you support, but as a organization, Republican Party. But I do believe that the Republican Party ought to be able to go out. But here's where we mess up. We get into the little fine stuff that doesn't matter, and we score on stuff that doesn't matter. Here's what I would say is get the platform. Let's set the platform and say, this is what we are, and this is where this guy scores or gal scores on the platform, whether it be abortion, whether it be guns, or whether it be social issues, or whether it be vaccination, or some of these things that are core principle. And then again, we got some that are outliners. Well, that vote was about this. Well, really, I can't see that. If it's one of those, leave that out. Let's go to the core principles. And absolutely, I think that the Republican Party has a duty to go, okay, this is who this is. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're supposed to be there for, is to say no. And I don't think that, calling that out, we've been too slack not to call it out. And again, that's one of the things that I'm loving about Grassroots is they are calling those things out, and they are holding people accountable. And I will tell people that I should probably be a little better on my votes, but I've got an attitude of they don't matter, because guess what? It's all set in stone. They only let what they want on there. It's all a game to me. And I am working to show, like rapes on children, waterboarding on children, sexual molestation going on by the employees, rapes on inmates being covered up, human rights being covered up, corruption like you wouldn't believe. If I started naming all the things I've turned in on corruption, you wouldn't believe it. $43 million found and given to state employees, largest raise found, not one dime new on appropriation, not one dime new on taxes, found it right in their budget. People wouldn't believe I found much, much more than that, much, much more, and was totally ignored. Said, hey, just ignore it and go on down the road. Now, again, that's the stuff, and I'm not saying votes aren't important. I try to work the votes. I try to do it.
Sure.
But if you'll watch the floor, you'll see a little fat man running in off that floor, because I'm out there talking to whistleblowers, trying to find, and everybody's got their own unique thing. But for me, that's what I'm trying to do. So again, I'd like, most people don't consider that in the whole process. I think that we have to look a little broader than just a couple of things. But I think your vote should reflect. I think your vote should reflect who you are. I think you ought to be able to state, when you talk about like guns. Hey, I'm not just speaking. I'm the only guy who tried to file charges on the ATF, and I'm working on another ATF deal here pretty quick. And again, not only do I speak it, but I go after them and filed an actual probable cause on the ATF, because I personally believe they violated the Constitution. I believe they violated the law. I believe that they stole the guns. They didn't have authority to take guns. They only took half the guns of the case I'm talking about. You can't take half. You either got to take all or none. They didn't have proper authority to take them. They called back and said, we'll give you $10 a gun And if you take it, we'll make it all go away. That's called extortion. That's extortion. So I'm working on those big issues. Hey, quickly, before we get off here, I do want to say, I think everybody sees that she's very experienced. I think everybody sees that you're a very hard worker, that you're very involved in everything. I think everybody sees that you have a backbone and that you will stand up for what you believe and fight for what you believe. Sure. I think it's all pretty evident of us talking, but I want to leave you with a thought.
Okay.
If you become the chairman or whoever's listening, these are thoughts of JJ. That ought to be scary. We now have a little technology into we could do town hall meetings, or we can do Zooms and things like that. One of the things that I see coming from southeastern Oklahoma, rural district, is we're left out of the conversation quite a bit. We are not. It's always Oklahoma City, Tulsa. You being from Craig, you may be able to relate to me a little bit on this. Now, people like me and you will drive up there, but we're few and far between. Okay, so what I'm saying is there a way to even unite more of the party by having these town hall meetings or Zoom meetings or going out and going to each 77 counties and including them? Because I believe that the way we really become a powerful force, because I think those grassroots people, when you come down to my area, that Republican Party, those are some green grass growing
yes, they are.
grassroots. And so and that's Choctaw, Push, Bryan, McCurtain, all of them are.
I've been to McCurtain. So first of all, I would like to put in the rules that we allow Zoom meetings, because I mean, I've been working virtual for so long. I don't see why we can't do a lot of Zoom meetings. That is not currently allowed in our rules, but I do plan on, so I've been building the administration and building what I want to get done. And one of the things we will do is have a monthly Zoom call with all of the county chairs, and that's all of them. And so if it's a Zoom call, then they're a part of the conversation. One of the beautiful things about the Grassroots is that we have been using Signal chats, which is electronic. And so we've gotten to know each other that way. And so we are using technology, and I would like to see it furthered more. We won't be able to use it for official meetings yet because of the rules.
And we're fixing to go off. But one of the other things I'd like to see, and I don't know, it may come with when we get better finances or whatever, I would like to see us use technology to come up with some channel, like, that we would have a GOP and have programming on like what we're doing today. There's a lot of other podcasts that would be interesting, and then have a board where people could put up what their concerns are or what they want to see, or, but that we would have a social functioning webpage. Hey, y'all go to jj4ok.com, jj4ok.com, and that we would have something like that. So just a couple of ideas that I'm bombing at you.
That. Thank you.
Right off the bat, and so good luck with
awesome.
you.
Thank you, JJ.
And I appreciate you very much. Hey, we appreciate everybody out there. Stay tuned, get involved in this GOP. This is very important. And that when we do get it, that we want all the people across the state to get involved in this grassroots movement. This is you taking back your government. This is us exposing what's going on. Join us with the rally tomorrow at 10 o'clock there on the south side of the Capitol building. It should be a great rally. Come and join us. Take part in that. Let your voices be heard. Y'all have a blessed day.
See you later.